Hi, welcome back to our channel, Tiana and Ace Taste. Tiana is going to make for us today ooey gooey delicious gluten-free, dairy-free, and refined sugar-free cinnamon rolls. Are you ready?
All right, so Apollo's in the kitchen with me and we're just going to put together the ingredients to make the cinnamon rolls. So you're going to need 3/4 of a cup of non-dairy milk. I'm using almond milk. And then it needs to be warm. So I just heated it up in the microwave for about 30 seconds. And then to that, you're gonna add a packet of instant yeast. And then you just mix that together a little bit so that it's well incorporated. Then we're going to add the sugar, which is 1/4 of a cup of maple sugar. And then 1 egg yolk plus a regular egg. And 1/4 cup of melted butter. Which you don't want to be too hot though, adding to the eggs. And try to have the eggs at room temperature and the melted butter melted, but then kind of cooled to a room temperature. And then I'm just gonna mix that again. And then you're going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt and 1 cup of oat flour. And 2 cups of gluten-free Bob's Red Mill all-purpose flour. And then just mix that together with the hook, kind of like kneading attachment. And just do this until a ball of dough forms. And then once you have an actual ball of dough that forms, you're just gonna put that into a greased bowl and you're gonna cover it with some saran wrap that also is greased and allow that to rise for about an hour to an hour and a half. Covered though, and like I said, make sure that you spray this well. While the dough is rising, I'm just gonna put together the cinnamon sugar topping. So it's just 1/3 of a cup of maple sugar, 1/3 of a cup of coconut sugar. And coconut sugar has like a brown sugar taste, but the combination of the maple and the coconut sugar should be, more like a standard brown sugar. And then I'm adding in 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. And just mix that all together. And then I'm also going to get prepared just some melted butter, and I'm gonna do 1/3 of a cup of melted non-dairy vegan butter. And I will just keep that on the side until they have risen and we're ready to roll them out. So we are back about an hour and 15 minutes later. And it definitely has gotten a lot larger. So what you're gonna do is just sprinkle some flour onto the surface, a nice clean surface. All right, and then take out the dough. You're gonna knead it just to make sure that it's not going to stick, but honestly, you don't want to knead too much because it will make it a little bit less tender. and fluffy and flaky. So just pat it out. I want to try to get a nice rectangular shape. And then you're just going to take that kind of melted vegan butter, which mine's been sitting out a bit, so it's kind of started to solidify again, but just want to just put that all along the dough. Just evenly spread that out. And then on top of that, we'll go all of this lovely cinnamon sugar mixture. I'm actually going to switch back to this spoon and just try to evenly coat everything. Make sure to get the edges. And then this is just going to get rolled up the long way. Keep all that gooey stuff inside as much as possible. All right, and then I'm gonna grab a knife and just cut this into 9 equal pieces, and I'm gonna stick this in a pan, and then you just let it sit there for a little bit, about 20 minutes or so, see if it rises any additional amount, and I will show you it when it's done with that. So it's been about 20 minutes and the cinnamon rolls have maybe expanded a little bit more. I did make sure any of the juice that kind of spilled out as we were rolling, I scooped back in and just kind of poured it on top, because what I'm gonna do when they're done is you can flip them over, get all the goo from the bottom, will drip on the top, and then frost them. So I'm actually going to pop these into the oven. It is almost preheated right now. And those are gonna go in for 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm just going to wait and let that continue preheating. But the frosting, I have about 3/4 of a cup of confectioner's sugar in here right now, or powdered sugar. And if you wanted to make this refined sugar free, then one option is taking maple sugar and just blending it as finely as possible and adding in even a little tapioca starch to try to, because it won't be quite as fluffy as traditional powdered sugar would be. So the tapioca flour will help kind of keep it fluffy. But for now, for today, I'm just gonna use regular powdered sugar. And to that, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of a non-dairy, this is the Tofutti non-dairy sour cream. I'm not a big cream cheese frosting fan, but a little bit of sour cream will give it just something other than just pure sugar, basically. And then to that, I'm also gonna add 3 tablespoons of the vegan butter. Just a little bit. All right, and then I'm going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just gonna eyeball that. And then I'm just going to mix this together with a hand mixer. Oh, the oven is preheated now, so I will stick those in just a moment. And just beat this until it's kind of a creamy, fluffy consistency. Until everything's, incorporated. And I have found that I do not want to over mix when it comes to the vegan butter, because once you over mix, it kind of separates and it's really hard to get back. So I'm actually just gonna leave this the way it is, and I will pop the cinnamon rolls in the oven and I will show you what they look like when they're come out. So these are the cinnamon rolls from the oven. I just let them cool for a couple minutes and then I am going to put the frosting on them. And I kept the frosting in the fridge just to try to prevent it from separating. Now, these are ready to eat.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, share it with family and friends, and comment. We're always interested to hear. You can follow us also on Instagram at Tiana and Ace Taste. Until next week.